Good evening, class. Well, in yesterday's class, we have discussed about uh, block 3. So, here is a quick review of block 3. So, under this block, we have studied various units. So, the first unit was on industrial policy. Then, Unit 13, New Industrial Policy 1991. Then, Unit 14 was Structure of Indian Banking. And the next unit was 15, fiscal policy. And the last unit was financial sector reforms. So, the things which we have discussed in yesterday's class, I'll be sending notes via email for the concerned topics which we have discussed yesterday. Well, in today's class, we will be discussing about block 4 and all the units which comes under block 4. Quickly, let's check out the units. Yeah, so we have discussed this. Now, the next unit to be covered is Indian foreign trade and EXIM policy. So, under industrial foreign trade, trends, compositions, and directions need to be studied. The very first topic under Indian foreign trade is trends. Well, India's foreign trade has undergone significant changes over the past several decades. Initially, post independence, India's foreign trade was characterized by a reliance on primary products and a significant import of manufacturing goods. So, basically, on primary products and import of manufactured goods. Also, over the years, there has been a structural shift with a rise in the export of manufactured goods, services, and information technology. Major trends in India's foreign trade include the first trend is diversification of export basket. Well, this is transition from primary commodities to manufactured goods, softwares, and services. Then the second trend was geographical diversification. So, under this, the expansion of trade partners beyond traditional markets like the USA and Europe to include East India, Africa, and Latin America. So, that is geographical diversification. Next was increase in trade volume. So, substantial increase in the total volume of trade, both in the terms of value as well as physical quantity. So, that is the concept of increase in trade volume. So, not only in terms of value, but also in terms of physical quantities. Now, the next trend under this foreign trade was trade deficits. So, persistent trade deficits due to high import bills compared to export earnings, especially in oil, gold, and electronic goods. So, these are the trends under Indian foreign exchange. Now, the next thing we'll cover is the composition of Indian foreign trade. Just a minute, please. Yeah, so we were at this next topic, that is composition of Indian foreign trade. Well, the composition of India's foreign trade has evolved significantly. The first thing, its composition consists of export, and the next thing is import. Well, when we talk about export, so India's export include a variety of goods and services such as textiles, gems, and jewelry, engineering goods, petroleum products, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and IT services. So these things comes under the scope of exports for India's foreign trade. Now, when we talk about imports, so major import comprises crude oil and petroleum products, gold, electronic goods, machinery, chemicals, and raw materials for various industries. So these are the things which covers import of India's foreign trade. Now we'll talk about directions. So India's foreign trade direction reflect it global engagement. So the first one is traditional partners. So who are the traditional partners of India's foreign trade? These are USA, European Union, and the Japan. So these are the traditional partners of India. Now, the next one is emerging partners. So, under emerging partners, China, Middle East, Africa, and Latin American companies come. So, that is emerging partners. Now, the third direction is a regional trade agreement. So, participation of SARC and BIMSTEC and other regional grouping to enhance trade relations. So, under this, SARC countries as well as BIMSTEC, that is BIMSTEC. So these countries come under regional trade agreements. Okay. So that was the about direction of Indian foreign trade. Next, we will study about India's EXIM policy background. So how does this export-import policy came into existence? Well, India's export import policy is formulated by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, primarily through the Directorate General of Foreign Trade, that is DGFT. So, the policy outlines the regulations, procedures, and incentives for foreign trade and is updated periodically to adapt changing economic scenarios. So this is how EXIM policy, that is export import policy, came into existence. Next thing we need to see is India EXIM policy 1950 to 1990. We need to study about the highlights of import regime and export promotion strategy. So the first thing over here to be noted is import regime. First, we'll discuss this. So during the initial decades post-independence, India's import policy was highly restrictive in nature. So what was the restrictions we'll see? The first was import substitution. So it focused on reducing dependency on import by promoting domestic industries. Next one was licensing and quotas. So strict control over import through a licensing system and import quotas was there. Third restriction was high tariffs. Well, the imposition of high import duties to protect uh, the domestic industries were there. So next one is essential imports. So under this, the priority given to essential imports like food grains, fertilizers, and industrial machinery. So these are Yeah, sorry for the interruption. There was a power cut at my place. So we'll continue now with the export promotional strategies. So under export promotional strategy, wait a minute, I'll share my screen. Yeah. So under export promotional strategies, export promotional promotion received increasing attention in later years to address trade deficits and foreign exchange constraints. So the first thing was incentives and subsidies. So various schemes like duty drawbacks, export subsidies, and concessional finance for exporters were initiated. Next was the initiation of Export Processing Zone, also known as EPZ. So, establishment of EPZ to provide infrastructural and fiscal incentives for export-oriented industries were made. And the third strategy was Trade Promotion Organization. So that was the creation of organization like the Export Credit Guarantee Corporation (ECGC) and India Trade Promotion Organization, that is ITPO, to support the exporters. So these are the you can say three promotional strategies for exporting for you can say increasing export activities. So what were these? Incentives and subsidies were given. Then there was the provision for export processing zone (EPZs), where it provide infrastructure and fiscal incentives for export industries. And the third one was trade promotion organization. So a few example of trade promotion organizations are ECGC, that is Export Credit Guarantee Corporation, and the next one is India Trade Promotion Organization, that is ITPO. So that was the concept of export promotion strategy, right? Well, the next topic under this EXIM policy is India's EXIM policy in the 90s and to study the major developments under this. So, in the 1990s, marked a period of economic liberalization in India, which significantly impacted the EXIM policy. So, what happened in 1990s? The major developments were there. So let's see what were these developments. So the very first one was liberalization and deregulation was there. So it was helpful in reduction in trade barriers, dismantling of licensing regime, and lowering of traffics tariffs. Sorry. Excuse me. Yeah, so that was liberalization and deregulation. Next was foreign direct investment, also known as FDI. So, relaxation of FDI norms were made to attract foreign investment and technology. So, that was the second one, that is, foreign direct investment were initiated. Next one is trade reforms. So, adoption of market-friendly policies and reduction of export subsidies in compliance with the WTO guidelines and emphasis on boosting competitiveness was there. So, that was the trade reforms were there. Next, the fourth thing which happened was export promotion and capital goods schemes were introduced. So it allowed import of capital goods at concessional rates for boosting exports. Then there was a provision for special economic zones, also known as SEZs. So over here, it was a conversion of EPZ, which we have studied before. That is, export processing zones were converted to special economic zones, which enhance the incentives and the infrastructure as well. So basic structure was same, because the concept of being there was to provide infrastructure and fiscal incentives. So the same concept was there for SEZ also, but it has been transformed from EPZ to SEZ. So that was about Indian exim policy in the 90s and the major development. So under this policy, the last topic we can see over here is India's exim policy recent changes. So quickly, let's see what are the recent changes. Well, recent changes in India's exim policy reflect the ongoing effort to align with global trade practices and enhance competitiveness. So the first thing was focus on services export. Emphasis on promoting IT and IT enabled services and other service sectors through various schemes and incentives were made. Next was Indian Foreign Trade Policy, also known as FTP. So, introduction to the Foreign Trade Policy 2021 and 20 till 2026, with a focus on self-reliance, that is Atmanirbhar Bharat. It was introduced, right? And integrating with the global supply chain. So that was new foreign trade policy, which was introduced in 2021, and it will last for 5 years, that is till 2026. The next change was export incentives schemes. So, introduction of schemes like the remission of duties and taxes of export products to replace older schemes like MEIS. So, that was export incentives schemes were introduced in the recent times. Now, the last change is trade agreements were made. So, the proactive engagement in bilateral and multilateral trade agreements to secure better market access and reduce the trade barriers. So, these are the recent changes, you can say, that the recent amendment made in the exempt policy. What are these changes? They have focused on services exports, that is, they have included IT enabled services as well as other service sector as well. Then there was ease of doing business by simplification of the processes. Next was there was new foreign trade policy, which was based on the self-reliance concept, that is Atmanirbhar Bharat. And there is, sorry, export incentives scheme, which have reduced the previous scheme, that is MEIS. And also trade agreements were also being revised. So these are the recent changes which are being made in foreign trade policy. So there is nothing to understand in the foreign trade policy. Basically, you need to mug up the things which are present there, but you need to study one or two times to understand the things. So that is the key. Also, India's foreign trade and exim policy have evolved significantly from a protectionist approach to a more liberal as well as global integrated framework. The trends, composition, and direction of India's trade reflect its dynamic economic landscape and efforts to enhance global competitiveness. The continuous reforms and update in the exim policy are geared towards promoting export, facilitating imports, and achieving sustainable economic growth. So that was all about India's foreign trade. Now, before moving to the next unit, that is Unit 18, I would like I would like to ask you people, please send your email addresses in the chat box. So those who have not received the notes till now, today I'll be sending the complete notes for business environment. So till then we'll complete the notes. So in the class itself, I will try sending the email so that all of you can get the notes and the previous paper as well. So quickly, please put your email addresses in the chat box. So I'll copy directly from the chat box. Don't make any typing mistake because I won't type. I'll just pick it up from there, from the chat box. So please put your email addresses in the chat box. Yeah. So the next thing is India's balance of payment. That is Unit 19. Yesterday class also we have discussed about India's uh, balance of payment concept. So today we have a whole unit about it. So we will study more about the concept. Also, the question is being repeated in the January paper as a long answer. So the chances are there it will come as a short answer. Anyway, you need to understand so it will become easier. You can write long or a short, no problem. So coming to the basic concept of balance of payments. Well, the balance of payments, that is BOP. Acha, it could come in your examination in the name of BOP only, right? हो सकता है कि सिर्फ BOP लिखा हुआ हो आपके एग्जाम में. Explain this concept. So don't get confused. That is balance of payment. So it is a comprehensive record of a country's economic transaction with the rest of the world over a period. It consists of two main accounts, right? The first one is the current account and the second one is the capital account. So let's understand what the current account and the capital account is. Well, the current account record the flow of goods, services, incomes, and current transfers between the resident of a country and rest of the world. Getting my point? So what does it do? It records the flow of goods and services, incomes and transfers between the resident of the countries, that is the people living in the country, and rest of the world. So that is the current account. So this current account includes, the very first thing is trade balance. This is the difference between the value of export and import of goods. So the difference between the value of export and import in a goods is known as trade balance, right? Next thing under current account, we have services balance. Well, the difference between export and import of services, that is IT services, travel or transportation, is known as services balance. Now, the third balance is income balance. Well, the earning on investment and compensation of employees across the border constitute income balance. That is income on investment and compensation of employees across the borders constitutes income balance. That is the third one. And the fourth one is current transfer. So the transfer where no goods or services are provided in return, such as remittance, gifts, and aids, that is any help. So that is known as current transfer. So these are the four balances which are included in current account. These are trade balance, services balance, income balance, and current transfers. Clear? Now, moving on to capital account, that is the second part of balance of payment. Well, the capital account records the capital transfer and the acquisition of non-produced, non-assets. However, it is often combined with the financial accounts. Okay, I'll repeat again. The capital account records, what does it record? Capital transfer and acquisition, the capital transfer as well as the acquisition of non-producers, the things which are not being produced in the country, and non-financial assets. So इनमें जो capital transfer होगा, that will be recorded under capital account. However, it will often combine with the financial accounts. This will include foreign direct investment. So investment by entities based in one country into business interest in another company. Then there will be portfolio investment. So that is the investment in financial assets such as stocks and bonds. Next would be some other investments like loans, banking capital, and other financial assets and liabilities. And the last one is the reserve assets. So these are the changes in the reserve held by a country's central bank, that is RBI. So the sum of the current account and the capital account should ideally be zero. So the sum of, when you calculate their sum, the sum of current account and the capital account, the result should come out to be zero, as they reflect the net transaction with the rest of the world. A surplus, that means if you get a positive value or a higher value, or a deficit, that is a negative value or a lower value, in one account is offset by any opposite movement in the other. Okay, so the value should be zero. Then you will get the balance of payment value correctly. If you are getting a positive value, so there will be a surplus. And if you are getting a negative value or a lower value, there will be a deficit. Now, we'll talk about the factors behind a reoccurring foreign exchange crises in India. That is the So that's the only email address I got. Okay. Yeah. So the thing is, factors behind reoccurring foreign trade, foreign exchange crises in India. So India has faced several foreign exchange crises primarily due to the following factors. So what are these factors? The very first thing is high import bills. On what? On imports, gold imports. So when we talk about oil imports, so India is heavily dependent on imported crude oil, making its import bill vulnerable to global price fluctuations. And on the gold import as well. So high demand for gold in India often leads to a substantial outflow of foreign exchange. So that is the concept of high import bills under oil imports and gold imports. Next factor is for the crisis is trade deficit. That means the persistent trade deficits where import consistently exceed exports. So it leads to a depletion of foreign exchange reserves. Now the third factor or the third reason is capital flight. That is the political instability, economic uncertainty, or adverse policy changes can lead to capital flight, where investors withdraw their investment from the country, putting pressure on the foreign exchange reserves. Now, the next factor is external debts. So, accumulation of external debts and the need for servicing is it through interest and principal repayments can strain foreign exchange reserves. Now, the next factor is global economic conditions. Well, adverse global economic conditions such as recession or financial crisis in major economies can reduce demand for Indian export and affect capital inflows. So that is global economic conditions. Now, the sixth one and the last one is global missteps. Sorry, it's policy missteps. MISSTEPS, missteps. Policy missteps. So, policy missteps such as rigid exchange rate regimes, poor monetary policy, or inefficient trade policy can exacerbate foreign trade exchange problems. So that is the policy missteps. So all in all, we have discussed the six factors. These are high import bills, then trade deficit, capital flight, external debts, global economic conditions, and policy missteps. So these are the six factors responsible for the crisis. Now the next topic is recent trends in India's BOP position. So, what is currently going on? We will discuss this. So, the very first thing under the recent trend is current accounts. So, under current account, what are the recent changes? The first thing under current account is narrowing deficit. So the current account deficit known as CAD has narrowed due to reduced import, especially because of COVID-19 and stable or growing export. So deficits has been narrowed down. Kam ho gaye deficits. Then export, service export. So India continues to maintain a surplus in service trade driven by IT and IT-enabled services and remittance. So steady inflow of remittance from the Indian support to the current account. So that is remittance under current account. Next, when we talk about capital account, the things under this are FDI and FPI inflows. So India has seen robust inflows in FDI and FPI, that is foreign portfolio investment, driven by policy reforms and an improving investment climate. Next, under capital account, we have external borrowing. So, increased external commercial borrowing, known as ECBs, by Indian companies for growth and expansion. So, these are the recent trends under the current account and the capital account. Now, the next thing is the next recent trends were seen in foreign exchange reserves. So, there was a record reserve. So India's foreign exchange reserve has reached record levels, providing a buffer against external shocks. And there was also reserve management. So active management of reserve by the Reserve Bank of India to ensure liquidity and stability. So we have seen the record high as well as we have seen the record management as well, management of reserves as well. So that was under foreign exchange reserves. Now, the fourth trend which we have seen is impact of global events. Well, the first is obviously we have pandemic effect. So the COVID-19 pandemic led to temporary reduction in imports due to reduced demand. But exports were also affected due to global supply chain disruptions. Next, there was geopolitical tension. So ongoing geopolitical tension and trade wars have had mixed impact, sometimes benefiting Indian export in certain sector while creating uncertainty in others. So that is geopolitical tensions between the trade countries. Well, India's balance of payment position reflect the interplay of various domestic as well as global factors. While the country has managed to navigate a reoccurring foreign exchange crises through policy reforms, there was diversification of export market. Also, there was prudent reserve management. So it remains susceptible to external shock. Recent trends indicate a more balanced BOP position supported by strong service export, steadily remittance, and robust capital inflows as well. However, continuous monitoring and adaptive policies are essential to sustain stability as well as growth in the BOP framework. Okay, right. So this was all about India's balance of payment concept. The next concept is Unit 19, foreign capital and collaboration. So give me a moment time. I'll start this topic in just a minute. Yeah. So the next unit is Unit 19, that is foreign capital and collaboration. So under this, the very first thing need to be discussed is foreign capital, arguments for and against for foreign capital. So let's see arguments for. What are the arguments for foreign capital? The first thing under this, for we have economic growth. So foreign capital inflows can accelerate economic growth by providing the necessary funds for investment in infrastructure, industry, and services. So that is the economic growth which comes in favor for foreign capital. Next is a foreign technology transfer. Well, FDI often brings advanced technology, management practices, and innovation, which can enhance productivity and efficiency. So that is technology transfer. Next, under 4, we have employment generation. Well, establishment of foreign enterprises can create jobs and improve skill levels through training and development. So that is employment generation. Next, a fourth argument is foreign exchange earnings. So export-oriented foreign investment can help earn foreign exchange, reducing the balance of payment deficit. So that is foreign exchange earnings. Next argument is on improved infrastructure. So that is investment in infrastructure projects by foreign companies can improve connectivity and logistic, benefiting the broader economy. And the last argument for we have market expansion. That is, foreign capital can help domestic companies access international market through joint ventures and collaboration. So these are the arguments for foreign capital investment. So what are these? Quickly review them. That first one is the economic growth. That is, it helps in economic growth. Next, we have technology transfer. So with FDIs, definitely the technology transfer will be there. Next is employment generation. So the foreign companies can create lots of job and improve the skill levels as well. Then we have exchange earnings, foreign exchange earnings will be there. And because of that, improved infrastructure will be there and market expansion will happen. So these are the arguments for foreign capital, right? Now, next, we'll discuss about some arguments against foreign capital. What are these? The first one is the economic dependency, that is, excessive reliance on foreign capital can make the economy vulnerable to external shocks and global market fluctuations. Second argument is profit repatriation. That is, foreign investment often repatriate profits to their home countries, leading to a drain in the host country's foreign exchange reserve. So whatever profit they are earning, they are directing that profit to their home country. So because of that, it affects the foreign exchange reserves. Then there is loss of sovereignty. So significant foreign control in key sectors can lead to a loss of economic sovereignty and influence over national policies as well. Now, the next argument against, we have market disruption. Entry of foreign firms can disrupt domestic industry, leading to potential job losses and business closures. So that is, market disruption will be there. Next, the fifth argument is cultural impact. Well, foreign investment, especially in media and retails, can lead to cultural changes and influence consumption patterns as well. So that is cultural impact. And the last argument is uneven development. So foreign investment may focus on high return sectors or regions, leading to uneven development and regional disparities. So these are the six arguments which are against foreign capital. What are these? The first is economic dependency. Then we have profit repatriation. Then loss of sovereignty is there. Then market disruption, cultural impact, and uneven development as well. So that is the last one. Now, the next thing to be discussed is India's foreign investment policy. So we need to know a backdrop of about India's foreign investment policy. Well, India's foreign investment policy has evolved significantly over the decades. Initially, the policy was restrictive in nature, aiming to protect and promote domestic industries. Over time, recognizing the need for capital, technology, and expertise, the policy shifted towards liberalization and opening up the economy to several investment. So, when we talk about India's foreign investment policy 1948 to 1990, we'll see certain growth and origin of it. So, the first phase was the initial hesitant, that was from 1940 to 1960s. So, that was a post-independence era. So, India adopted a cautious approach towards foreign capital. The Industrial Policy Resolution of 1948 and 1956 emphasized self-reliance and restricted foreign ownership in critical sectors. So foreign capital was allowed selectively, primarily in technology intensive and export oriented industries only. So where it was used basically or in the technology incentive, sorry, intensive industries and export oriented industries only. So over there only these capital were used, and India was quite hesitant in using the funds anywhere else. And it was and India was quite hesitant as well. So, the next thing which we have seen in this era was control liberalization. So, which happened between the year 1970s to 1980s. So, was known as controlled liberalization era. The 1970s and 1980s saw a gradual shift with controlled liberalization. We have the FERA Act of 1970, FERA, FERA Act, that is Foreign Exchange Regulation Act of 1973, imposed a strict regulation on foreign companies, but also provided pathway foreign investment, joint ventures, and collaboration with minority foreign state. Also, there was export-oriented units known as EOUs. So the establishment of export-oriented units and introduction of export processing zone, that is EPZ, studied previously in the class, aimed to attract foreign investment in export-driven industries. Now, the next thing over here need to be covered is foreign capital and collaboration in India, 1948 to 1990. So, in this era, what were the trends which were seen? The first one was selectivity entry. So, foreign investment were allowed in specific sectors like technology, engineering, and pharmaceuticals, where domestic capabilities were very limited. Next, there was joint ventures. So, the predominant form of foreign investment was through joint ventures with Indian firms ensuring technology transfer and local control as well. Also, there was limited MNC pressure. So, the presence of multinational companies were limited and tightly regulated as well, with strict caps on foreign ownership. Next is the impact of these collaboration. So the first impact was technology and skill development. So collaboration lead to the transfer of technology and skill, particularly in high-tech industries. Then there was industrial growth. So foreign capital contributed to the growth of key industries, improving their competitiveness and efficiency. Next was export growth. So export-oriented policies and collaboration boosted India's export performance, particularly in sectors like textiles and engineering. So there was export growth. And there were regulatory challenges. So over-regulation and bureaucratic hurdles often deterred potential investors, limiting the full potential of foreign investment. So what are these trends? Quickly review them. So not the trends, but the impacts. Trend were a selective entry, joint ventures, and limited MNC pressure. And the impacts were technology and skill development, industrial growth, export growth, and regulatory challenges. Now, the next is India's foreign investment policy in the 90s. The next policy to be reviewed. So, again, we need to review the policy and discuss trends and impact of this policy. So in the year 1990s marked a significant shift in India's foreign investment policy, driven by economic liberalization and globalization. So the very first thing was liberalization and reforms. So the economic crisis of 1991 led to comprehensive economic reforms, including significant liberalization of foreign investment policies. Next, there was FDI policy changes were there. So the government introduced automatic approval routes for FDI in many sectors, reducing bureaucratic hurdles and increasing foreign ownership caps. Next, in this investment policy, there was sectoral openings. So key sectors like telecommunication, banking, insurance, and infrastructure were open to foreign investment, which is known as sectoral openings in the major sectors. And the fourth one is incentives and felicitation. So various incentives, including tax break and simplified procedures, were introduced to attract foreign investors. So what were the basic of this policy in the 90s, foreign investment policy? So there was liberalization and reforms. So also FDI policy changes were made. Then there was sectoral opening in the key sectors like telecommunication, banking, insurance. And there was incentives and facilitation of it. So that is what happened under India's foreign investment policy in the 90s. You will get the detailed notes in your booklet. So don't rely on my notes only. These are for reference purpose only. And I have described these things very briefly because we do not have much classes to discuss the things. So I request you all to kindly go through the booklet. So over there, it is given, the answer is given very nicely, but for a short answer purpose, you can opt for my reference notes, no problem. Now, the last thing over here we need to discuss under this is foreign capital and collaboration, 1991 to 1999. What were the trends and impact we will study? The first, under trends, the first one was increased FDI inflows. So the liberalization policy resulted in a substantial increase in FDI inflows across various sectors. Then there was diversification of sectors. That is, foreign investment diversified beyond traditional sectors into services, IT, retail, and infrastructure. It has been divided. Okay. And there was mergers and acquisition. So there was a notable rise in mergers, acquisition, and strategic alliances between India's and foreign companies. So these were the trends under foreign capital and collaboration of 1991 to 1991. What were the trends? Increased FDI inflows, diversification of sectors, and mergers and acquisitions. Next, let's see the impact of 1991 to 1999 policy. The first one was economic growth. Then we have infrastructure development, then technological advancement, employment opportunities, and integration with global economy. So these were the impact under this policy. Also, India's foreign investment policy and its approaches to foreign capital and collaboration have evolved from restrictive and cautious to liberal and welcoming. So the significant shift in the 1990s marked a new era of economic growth, technological advancement, and global integration as well. The trend and impact of these policies reflect our dynamic journey towards becoming a competitive player in the global economy. Continuous reforms and strategic policies are essential to sustain and enhance the benefits of foreign capital and collaboration. So this was all about foreign capital and collaboration in very short. I hope it's clear. Now, the next and the last thing need to be discussed is MNCs. Excuse me. Excuse me for a minute. So, we have reached to the last unit of our subject, that is multinational corporation, MNCs. Quite easy concept. And again, it would come as a long answer as a whole. So, do not leave this topic. So, the notes which I'm providing are enough for MNCs. You need not delve in your booklet for this MNC's answer. Just go through the notes which I'll be sending. So we'll discuss it now. First of all, we'll talk about the definition and characteristics. So, multinational corporations, also known as transnational corporation, are enterprises that manage production or deliver services in more than one country. They typically have their headquarters in one country, that is the home country, and operate subsidiaries, branches, or you can say affiliates to other country known as host country. So that is the definition of multinational corporation, MNCs. Now, next thing is the characteristics. The first characteristic is their global presence. That means they are present globally. So MNC operate in multiple countries, allowing them to access a broader market and resource base. The first characteristic. Next is it has centralized management. So where operations are spread across countries, strategic decisions are usually centralized at the headquarters. Okay. Then it is large scale operations. So MNC have a significant economic clout, often operating on a large scale in terms of production, revenue, and workplace. So that is large scale operations are there. Next is technological and financial strength. So they possess advanced technology and substantial financial resources, enabling them to invest in R&D and large-scale projects as well. Next characteristic is diversified activities. So MNCs are often diversified across industries and regions to mitigate risk and leverage synergies. Next characteristic is standardized product and services. So throughout globe, throughout the countries, they are having standardized product and services. Next is complex organization structure. So MNC have complex and multi-layered structure to manage operations across different countries effectively. So these are the basic characteristics of MNCs. Now, the main part of MNCs is the main types of foreign production. So under this, we have wholly owned subsidiaries, joint ventures, licensing and franchising. Then there is strategic alliances. And the last one is controlled manufacturing. So these are the main types of foreign production. Next thing is determinants of MNC activity. So what are the determinants of MNC activity? These are the market size and growth, then resource availability, cost factors, political and economic stability, regulatory environment, technological and infrastructure development, and strategic location. So these are the determinants of MNC activity. So largely and growing market attract MNC due to potential sales and revenue. Availability of natural resources, labor, and raw material can influence MNC to set up production in a particular country. Lower cost of production, labor, and transportation can drive MNC to established operation in specific regions. MNC prefer a stable environment to minimize risk associated with political upheavals and economic volatility. So favorable government policies, tax incentives, and case of doing business attract MNC investment. Well-developed infrastructure and technological capabilities are crucial for efficient operation, and proximity to key markets and production hubs hubs can be significant factors. So these are the determinants of MNC activity. The next topic under this, we have the process of internationalization of a firm. So the first step for this is domestic focus. That is the initial stage where the firm focus on local market and build its capabilities. That is domestic focus. Next step is exporting. So selling products to foreign market through agents or distributors is exporting. Next is licensing and franchising. So allowing foreign firms to produce or sell products, earning royalties without direct involvement. That is licensing and franchising. Next is joint venture. So collaboration with local firms to share risk and resources is the next one. Also, we have foreign direct investment here. So that is establishing wholly owned subsidiaries or acquiring foreign companies to gain control over operations. And there is global integration. So coordinating operations and strategies across different markets to achieve economies of scale and scope. Now we have functional strategies of MNCs and MNC structure and feature. Give me a minute's time. I'll continue further. Yeah. So we need to study the functional strategies of MNCs. So the very first function strategy of MNC is global strategy. So that is standardizing products and services across all markets to achieve efficiency and maintaining brand consistently. That is the functions and the production which they are using in their home country. So the same production, same services has been provided to the host countries as well. That is known as global strategy. Next is multi-domestic strategy. So that is adapting product and marketing strategy to suit local preferences and cultural differences. So accordingly, they make changes. That is known as multi-domestic strategy. Then there are transnational strategies. So transnational strategies are balancing global efficiency and local responsiveness by integrating global operations and adapting to local markets. Then there is a cost leadership strategy. So minimizing production and operational cost to offer competitive pricing. So that is the next strategy, that is cost leadership strategy. Under this, the production is being minimized and operational cost to offer competitive pricing. Next strategy is differential strategy. That is offering unique product or services to stand out in the market and justify premium pricing as well. So when you are selling any unique product, you can sell it at premium prices as well. So that is known as differentiation strategy. And the last strategy is focus strategy. So that is targeting specific market segments or niches to cater to unique customer needs. So in all, we have six strategies under multinational corporations. These strategies are global strategies, that is, they remain throughout the globe same. Next is multi-domestic strategies, that is, they change according to the nation in which they are functioning. Then there are transnational strategies. Then we have cost leadership strategy, differentiation strategy, and the focus strategy. Okay. Yeah. Now we'll discuss about MNC structure and the features. So when we talk about structure, the very first thing is global product division structure. That is organizing operation based on product lines with each divisional response for its global performance. Then we have geographical division structure, that is organizing operational based on regions with regional division managing activities within their areas. Next, there is matrix structure. So under matrix structure, combining product and geographical structure to leverage the benefits of both and ensure coordination across products and the regions involved. So that is known as the matrix structure. And the fourth structure is transnational network structure. It is a more flexible and network structure that allows for greater coordination and integration across global operation. That is transnational network structure. So in all, there are four structures of MNCs. These are global product division structure, geographical division structure, matrix structure, and transnational network structure. Now we will talk about the features of MNCs. Well, the first feature is it is decentralized operations. While strategic decisions are centralized, operational decisions are often decentralized to adapt to local conditions. Next is integrated supply chain. MNCs manage complex global supply chains to optimize production and distribution. Next feature is cross-cultural management. So under cross-cultural management, managing a diverse workforce across a diverse culture require effective communication and cultural sensitivity. So that are the two basic requirements. That means you need to communicate properly as well as you need to know the cultural differences between you and the host country. Next feature is innovation and research and development, that is R&D. Continuous investment in R&D to innovate and maintain competitive advantage. That is one feature of MNC. Next is a CSR. So commitment to ethical practices, environmental sustainability, and social responsibility across all markets is important. Now, the last feature is global talent management. So that is attracting, developing, and retaining talent from around the world to drive global operations. So those are the six features of MNCs. Quickly revise them. Decentralized operations are there. Then integrated supply chains are there. Cross-cultural management is very effective. innovation and R&D is taking place. Then very effective CSR activities they are doing, and they are into global talent management as well. So these are the features of MNC. So with this, the topic is complete and we are done with all the topics of our syllabus for business environment. So I'm really happy that on time we have finished off all the topics, all the units are covered. Now, give me some time. We have just few minutes left for the class. So I will try sending the notes in the class itself. Yeah, I have asked you people to send the email addresses in the chat box so that few addresses which are been missing, I can include them. So this one. Okay. You all can go through the syllabus, the notes which I have sent you previously, and the notes which I'm going to send you right away. I am here only till 6:30. If any doubts are there, please ask me here itself because it's last day. So this is the only email which I need to include in the email list. So please go through the notes which I have sent you previously. And just now I am trying to send as soon as early as possible all the notes just now so that you can have a look and ask any doubts. Still, the class are being done today, but it does not mean you cannot ask your doubts. You are having my email address. Anytime you can put your doubts in the email and send me. Okay. Now please give me a minute time because my system is slow. Just wait a minute. In just a minute or two, you will receive an email. I'll just read out the email addresses if anyone is missing. Yeah, please let me know. So the list I am having one, two, three, four, five, 6 email addresses with me. So I'm just reading out the names. If anyone is missing, please put your uh, email in the chat box. So these email addresses are Suresh Sontam at gmail.com. Then we have Mahi Ammu and Sudhakar Bandaru, Vanitha Chegudi, and PL630661 is there. And this Krishna.web02 at gmail.com. So these are 6 email IDs with me. If anybody is missing, please let me know. Okay. Yeah, Samala Madhu at gmail.com. Okay. Anybody else? The email, kindly forward the notes in your WhatsApp group as well.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, I hope you people have received the notes by now. So go through the things which I have sent you. We still have time. We can discuss few things. Paper I have not attached. So if you are having any doubt, kindly put your question in the chat box. I'm here. Will revert back to you. Did you receive the email or not? Yes, no, anything? Yes, ma'am, received. Amani has received. What about others? Only Amani has received, others have not received. Amani, kindly send the attached files in your WhatsApp group. Are you there in the WhatsApp group?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Please
I
send
will share. I will share, ma'am.
all the things you please share. So those who have not got through email, they will get on their WhatsApp
Okay, okay, ma'am.
group. Okay, so I'm here until 6:30. If any doubt is there, please put your question in the chat box. And the experience was quite good. sharing the online classes, taking the online classes with you all for business environment. And a few things which were left in the offline classes, as the number of classes was less in the offline mode. So I'm happy we have ample number of classes in offline mode and timely, and all the units, all the topics have been covered effectively. So that's all from my side. If any doubt is there, add me in the WhatsApp group. Dear, I'm not in the WhatsApp group. So whoever the concerned person, please ask them. Anybody in the group, please send Venkat Krishna Reddy's number in WhatsApp group to get added. Please share your number, Venkat Krishna, in the group so that people listening over here, yeah, great. So they will add you in the group. If anything else is there, please put your question in the chat box. That's all for our online classes for business environment. I'm again saying and writing away my email address in the chat box. For any doubts, you can reach me before your examination. So that's all. Have a great evening. Take care. Bye.